where and how did you initially hear about Quizlet?
I think it was a teacher at Kumamoto University.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was teaching a class, an intensive course there in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "How about this?" And the students loved the what's the name of that game where they divide into teams and each team gets an animal name and they have to answer.
Oh, live, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was right.
Okay, perfect. And so obviously, you spoke to your colleague about it. What made you decide to give it a try? Just by his suggestion, or?
It's kind of what I said earlier, in the sense that it didn't involve signing up to a whole comprehensive program.
Oh, okay.
Stuff designed by somebody else, so I could do what I was originally planning to do,
Mm-hmm.
and just slot that in as a vocabulary part. And it was really nice to have, not have to make my own flashcards and tell students about space learning and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so more or less, it was it was easy to complement your curriculum in a way.
Yeah, and it's precisely the bit which is actually quite difficult to do as a teacher, logistically,
Mm-hmm.
the sort of, kind of choosing words, kind of timing tests and all that sort of stuff. If it's an electronic tool, you make in the cards yourself. There was, at that time I was using the academic word list, and there was already a list there.
Okay.
It wasn't actually perfect. I mean, some of the definitions were a bit strange, but the translations were a bit strange. But the cards were there. There were all these activities built in, including the fun ones like live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And things are arranged in stacks, so you can paste things very easily.
Okay. How about the study modes? Any particular ones that you used or had your students use, or did you leave that up to the students to sort of decide what study modes they wanted to use?
I left out the students, and I must confess I've forgotten which modes were available.
Right. I think there's flashcards, and then you have there's a write, a spell, there's the test, there's the live that we talked about, there's a matching game, and I believe there's one called Gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they love those 3 games.
Okay. Okay.
So they use Match and Gravity quite a lot. I mean, the test, I think maybe the test feature was the one they use most apart from those.
Okay. For yourself, if you were, like you said, a colleague introduced you to Quizlet, how would you describe Quizlet to a colleague who didn't know its existence?
Depends on whether they were kind of into vocabulary and knew about space learning and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But I think if they did, I'd say that it's, I guess I'd focus on, so it's convenient to use because you can make your own cards or use pre-existing cards. They're sorted into decks, so there's useful chunks of learning you can give students.
Mm-hmm.
It's got sort of testing features and some fun game features, so the amount of preparation you have to do is very limited. It's got class features, with a URL or code or something, whatever it was, to for students to join the class and use the materials.
Okay.
And you can, again, I've kind of forgotten details of how this works, and you can track what the students are doing.
Right. Okay.
And I think I would, I mean, this is maybe just one of my own preoccupations, but I'd probably mention again that thing about, you can it means you can kind of package out sort of vocabulary,
Okay.
partition that off from the rest of the class if you want to.
Right. Okay.
And
and-
also the Android and iOS apps that will be
Oh, okay.